Okay, so welcome everyone today to the Scalable Interaction Paradigms for Pervasive Computing Environments, our conversations we hold weekly. I'm Susanne Boll, and together with Heiko Müller, I'm hosting this conversation series. We are having exciting guests, and I'm handing over to the moderators of today, Andreas Butz and Sarah Diefenbach, who will be introducing our exciting guest for today.
Thank you, Susanne. Yeah, my name is Andreas Butz. I'm one of the PIs of the Munich branch of our Schwerpunkt program of the project Perform together with Sarah Diefenbach. And we were able to get a guest speaker from outside of our computer science community. We actually found a filmmaker who will shed a different type of light on our research. I'm really happy to welcome Michael Coldewey, who is Professor for Visual Effects at Hochschule für Film und Fernsehen in Munich. He was born in Munich, he studied in Augsburg, and he's been working in the film industry for the longest time. He's been doing special effects for films that we might know in Germany, like Hexe Lilly and Huibu, but also on international productions like Captain America, Iron Man 2 and 3, Avengers 1 and 2, and really an impressive list of productions that he's been co-working on. And in our initial discussions, he told us that he's been interested in making things alive for the longest time. And that's actually why we asked him to give this talk today, because in our project, we have the basic hypothesis that we could attribute personality to one of these environments. And well, if we want to create personality, we should ask those people who have been creating personality for a long time. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored, I have to say, because I am not a scientist. I do not see myself as a scientist. I'm more like on the artist side. And I'm a filmmaker. And well, here the film school is also like a university for art. So we are counting on this, like for the music or the fine art. We are doing film art. And that is what is fascinating me all my life. I was a projectionist during school and showing movies when I was a schoolboy. And for me, it was always fascinating how the audience is reacting to what I'm at that time presented. And then I wanted to do it myself, of course. And for me, live action wasn't an option at the time, because live action feature films or documentaries is a recorded reality, and then in a cinema or in TV you just play it, and you can watch it again. So for me, the fascination was always doing something that wasn't real in the beginning. And that is, of course, animation and everything around animation. So I'm coming from animation, and because there was no reality before, the reality starts to exist during the projection or when you watch it. Then it becomes alive and it becomes a reality. And that is what triggers me and what I couldn't resist. And so I went into the animation industry. And because of animation industry and the situation here in Germany with getting a job and everything, I started in the early 90s. I started with computer animation in 93. But doing my career, I had to go more and more into computer animation and leaving the traditional animation industry. And because of computer animation, I got in contact with live action then, of course, doing visual effects. And in visual effects, you create a world you couldn't film before, because either it's an historical event, or is science fiction, it is too expensive or too dangerous or whatsoever. There's a lot of reasons to do visual effects for feature films and to create the reality you want to show. And because I'm coming from animation, I was always character driven. I wasn't, and I'm not that interested in building spaceships or set extensions or whatsoever. I'm always interested in characters, and so yeah, that's my background. And now it is so interesting because you are thinking about reality with robot technology and all that in real. And there's one, for example, what we say in animation that is coming from robots is the uncanny valley. You might heard about that. And that is something that makes me crazy because how far can you get and how far can you go with what you show, what you create, what you design to recreate reality? In animation, if you do it in classic animation, you have a graphic style and everyone knows immediately, oh no, it's hand-drawn or it's computer animated or stop motion or whatsoever, that's fine. But when you get into a computer animation and it becomes more and more real and photoreal and even more than photoreal, you touch the reality in a way that the audience cannot see anymore the difference and think, no, that is real. That wasn't created by man, it was real. And that is something fantastic. And before that, you have this so-called uncanny valley where everything is falling apart because the audience think that what they see is not alive anymore. So to start something, maybe I can hopefully share my screen with my keynote. And then play that. So I don't know what you see now. Do you see the screen or do you see my screen?
No, we see Disney animation title stolen from Walt Disney's book Illusion
Yeah.
of Life. Is that the right page?
Yes. So this is the beginning, Illusion of Life. That is what is my thing, Illusion of Life, as a filmmaker. And this is a title I stole from Disney because there's the so-called kind of the Bible of animation written in the 40s, I think, the first issue, and is expanding them. What tricks? What do you do to make something alive? And this is what I just mentioned with animation. The main thing to create something that is not alive, of course, a drawing is not alive, an object is not alive, but you do something that it becomes alive. So I'm starting here, for example, just very simple because we do not have so much time. I would like to answer questions more than. In the very beginning, if we see a face, what is a face? You know, so like the square or more rectangle or more round. When does something become a face? Maybe if there are eyes, you know. So you create more and more something into a basic shape, and then it becomes a face. So maybe most of you know Iron Man from Marvel. There are 3 movies of more, 5 movies out there. So I just took an example of Iron Man because, and this is, you will understand why I'm choosing it. When you see this armor, you think that there is a human inside that armor. So it's not like an empty armor moving. Here, Iron Man is sitting on a sofa. There's nothing you can see organic on it. There's no man. There's no. It's just made out of metal and plastic and an armor sitting on a sofa. Why is this becoming alive? If you see this as a still, you say, okay, well, there is a puppet sitting on a sofa. So you have to move it, right? So you move it. And the movement can be very, very subtle. This character is not saying anything, it's just moving. And only because of this movement, you understand immediately, okay, there is something, it must be alive. And it also shows immediately an emotion. This character is there boring, sitting, waiting for something, is very relaxed, had a maybe long working day or whatsoever. But more we don't know, but we think it's alive. Without sound, it's alive already. And I have chosen a sequence where this is from Iron Man because the creator of this armor in the movie he's called Tony Stark. Robert Downey Jr. is the actor. He tricks his girlfriend because the girlfriend comes home and think she is finding his boyfriend, her boyfriend, but you will see is not. So I hope it plays, and I hope the sound gets through as well.
I'm sorry I'm late. I was, what is that? It's the house now? What is that, like Mark 15?
Yeah, something like that. You know, everybody needs a hobby.
Oh, and you have to wear your hobby in the living room?
Just breaking it in, you know, it's always a little pinchy in the gooey bag at first, so. Well, hey, did you see your Christmas present?
Yes, I did. I don't know how I could have missed that Christmas present. Is it gonna fit through the door?
Well, actually, it's a good question. I got a team of guys coming tomorrow. They're gonna blow out that wall.
Okay.
So, Ken's, good day, huh? Ooh, shoulders, little naughty girl. I don't want to harp on this, but did you like the custom rabbit?
Did I like it?
Nailed it, right?
Wow. I appreciate the thought very much. So why don't you lift up that face mask and give me a kiss?
Ping pong, peep, peep, pong. Yep, damn it. No can do. You want to just kiss it on the facial slit?
Well, why don't I run down to the garage and see if I can't find a crowbar to jimmy that thing open?
Crowbar, yeah. Oh, except there's been a radiation leak.
I'll take my chances.
That's risky. This thing gets you like a hazmat suit, Geiger counter or something like that. Busted.
This is a new level of lame.
Sorry.
You ate without me already on date night?
He was just.
You mean you?
Well, yeah, I just mean we were just hosting you.
So I don't know if you got the joke, because if you watch it first time, maybe not, if you're not familiar with this Tony Stark creating those armors. But he is not in the suit. So it's like a robot. He's sending his copy upstairs so he is upstairs, and but he's not. And she, of course, realizes, wait a minute, he's not inside that suit. And for us in our animation studio, when we had to do the sequence, you can imagine that this is the highest level of character animation almost possible, because it is not just about moving this suit, because if you just move the suit, it's like a mechanical movement of an object. But you have to move the suit as the actor, Robert Downey Jr., would move. And the audience already, they know about Robert Downey Jr. because they already watched him in this first part of the movie or in other movies as well. So as we humans recognize other humans, not only by the appearance in terms of the face and design and whatsoever, but also only because of movements. We know, we recognize the actors and everyone as moving in different types. You know that You can do there's door openers, for example, realizing the footsteps of each individual. Our footsteps are so individual, like the print, the fingerprint. So the audience will immediately see that it is not Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr. inside the suit if the suit is not moving like Robert Downey Jr. But on top of that, we didn't decide to use motion capture. I think you know what motion capture is, where you record movements not by images, but by scans or sensors. So you can rebuild that movement and one-to-one exactly. But there comes uncanny valley in place, because if we would have motion captured Robert Downey Jr. in his movement and then not showing Robert Downey Jr., showing the suit, the suit will move and will move like Robert Downey Jr., but the audience will not recognize him, even totally, I mean, absolutely not recognize him, but think that the suit is pretending to move like Robert Downey Jr. So we animated this suit in classical key animation, and because otherwise the joke is not working. And because in the beginning, when she arrives in the living room, she says, you're wearing the suit now in the living room, because it's in his garage normally. So it has to be believable Robert Downey Jr. And that is something that fascinates me really a lot. And I stop the screen share now because I have a lot of other things, but we want to talk and we want to discuss, and you might have a lot of questions as well. Just one little thing in our life, normal life, we try always to understand things that are moving or making sounds in a way that we think that it is alive, because then we can live with it better. You know those things with those vacuum cleaners running around the apartment on its own. And we know that there's a computer inside and sensors inside, and it doesn't hit the wall because it recognizes the wall and then turns around and things like that. But still, we don't understand that. And so for us, the vacuum cleaner is alive and might get a name. Or our car is sometimes not reacting as we want, because it doesn't, follow our controls. And then immediately the car becomes a name. And in my apartment, for example, our refrigerator makes weird sounds, really weird sounds, and not very loud. It doesn't bother, But sometimes we have a conversation, and our fridge in the corner makes, and we think, our fridge is alive, and so we keep it like that. So our fridge is alive, and that is what we love in our. We are humans, and immediately if something is there moving, reacting not only on us, but also with other things, we think it is alive and give it a name, and that's what fascinates me.
Yeah, thank you so much so far, Michael. Very impressive examples. I think you mentioned some things that everybody maybe has also in his or her own apartment, like a fridge that talks in its own way to us. And I think you also showed some other elements like movement and reaction that can give us the impression of things being alive. And what would be very interesting to know also for our Perform project, if we have the intention to design a particular personality for a room, but also for a character, what other means could we use for this besides movement? And also, if you think about giving a personality to a figure, to a character. Is this an intuitive process, or do you have like a particular systematic vocabulary, anything that?
Yes, it's of course intuitiveness is always with it as well, because this is how we work. But of course we have some methods to get to it. First of all, you have to think about what kind of character is it? What are you creating? What is it? If it is a room, for example. And in a very, very simple, in the very beginning, is it a positive, negative character? Is it an aggressive character, or more like, it's a calm one? Is this character sad? Is it drunken? Is it young? Is it old? Is this female? Is this male? All those questions, there are a lot of questions you have to answer. And that's because I mentioned female and male, it's interesting. For example, we in Germany always do not understand why the English people, the British people, talk about their cars and vehicles as she's. So a car is a she, a ship is a she in English. In German, it's das, it's neutral. And when we have a car, it's sometimes for some people, their own car is a male because of the name, or sometimes female. Most of the time, I think male, but in English, it's female. It's funny. So that's the first question. Is this, in your case, for example, a room? Is this room female or is it male? Or something in between, but then it has to have a reason why it is in between. And then there's a long catalog. I have a slide with questions about how to find out what character you are developing, because all those answers, all those questions you have to answer. And in animation, we always said, if we are able to buy a present for our character, and the character will love that present, then the character is alive. And so we pushed everything so far that we in our teams, in those projects, at the end, always kind of had a new family member. So for example, you mentioned movies like Huibu, for example. Huibu, this ghost, became a member of our family. And because we, at that time, we knew what this character would love to have for breakfast, or for Christmas. With Huibu, of course, it's easier because behind that was Michael Bulli-Herbig, a live action actor playing it and giving us a lot of inspiration and what this character is. So this is the basic thing in the beginning. You need to know who is your character, and then what is very important is whatever you then create and put on top of it, it has to be kind of believable for the audience. So if I make it very simple, if you have decided my character is female, and then you build and build and build, and at the end of the day, it's male, then you have to, you can't do this all of a sudden. It has to have a reason. Or if you think about a character that is very aggressive, very, very, light-tempered and things, then, but then the character is reacting in a different way. It has to have a reason, so that the audience is still believing in this character and still thinks, yes, a character. On the other hand, you have to surprise the audience, and you have to.
Yeah, but I think this is a very interesting aspect you already mentioned in our prior discussion, that consistency is something that creates character. So, which also means that this idea that everything has to be adaptive to the user's personality or needs is maybe not so good if you really want to have a convincing, strong character, because then it's not believable, not consistent anymore. And I think this is a very interesting research question because it also has some design implications, of course.
Absolutely. Yes, the design, I mean, sorry that I'm always taking cars now because we just talked about it, but the front of cars and the designers of BMW are forced to do a front of a car that is looking very aggressive. So everyone on the Autobahn is going to the right when a BMW is coming from rear. But a car from Fiat 500 or something has round lights and looks very funny in front. So it is more like a smiling face of a car. So it is not that aggressive. So you will find that car more in cities. And with everything else, and this is industrial design, that is not film. I mean, this is industrial design. Everything has a design with a certain purpose. That it looks, it looks light, heavy, expensive, cheap, whatsoever. But going back to characters, I mean, you can imagine creating characters for film, for entertainment. The biggest obstacle for me in my career, I have to say, in every project was always that most of the time, the ones who finance projects and financing movies and TV series, they want to have a say. And so you can imagine you are sitting in front of a broadcaster, and in front of distribution companies, and you are creating a character, and a character for family entertainment. Animation is most of the time family entertainment. And then you need to get a character through that is edgy, that is not streamlined, it is not always smiling and happy, because you need the other side as well. So your good character is becoming good because of the bad characters. You need both, and that is not easy. That is absolutely not easy. How far can you go with your character?
Yeah, exactly. I also just wanted to mention, I think we are already open for all questions, also from the audience, who shouldn't be the audience only any longer. But I don't know, Heiko, if you can watch for it, if there's anyone who wants to join. Christoph already.
I mean, just on the last part, I mean, how far can you go? I was constantly thinking about this when you were presenting. It reminded me of Tamagotchi or the early computer games. With just a few pixels and just a few motions, you could convey a lot of emotions. I wonder really how far can you go there? How far can you go without, super resolution and lots of frames per second?
Yes. It's amazing how little we need to react to something as if it is alive, or think it is alive. But on the other hand, it becomes very boring very fast. So it has to have its own character and its own reaction to certain things. I mean, the thing is I'm creating images, that's it. But others are creating objects you can touch. And there's way more, because this object is making sounds and maybe can talk. And we all think about robots helping in social life as well, and helping people. And how can they start to build a relationship with their helpers, with their servants, with their robots? And that is a fascinating thing, idea. Well, I think it's again like if you get too close into reality with your object, that becomes too much human, like getting a human face, for example, then it becomes dangerous, because our human face, and that is something I studied 30 years now in animation. When we the first thing we see in our life, after we are born and we start to look around, are the eyes of our parents. and everyone who's looking over, little baby, you see in the eyes. Every human, the first thing what everyone is looking at and is learning is reading eyes and reading eyes. So the eyes and everything around eyes is something everyone knows absolutely. So if you want to recreate that artificially, well, then, you know, it is almost impossible. In computer animation, we have now maybe the meta-humans created by Epic Games, a company that is making software for creating games. And those meta-humans are very, very close to, if you do the light and the rendering right, you cannot see if this is a human or not as an image. So we are on images, we are there in photoreal. But now we want to talk about robots, or we want to talk about not images, we want to talk about objects that are real. And there's much more coming that is still not reachable yet, I think.
Yeah, thank you that you mentioned this difficulties of humanoid robots. And actually in our project, this is not our aim to create a robot that resembles a human. Instead, we actually just have a room and somehow want to create personality for this room. So interesting would also be, apart from facial expressions, what means do you see for us to express personality, or more, maybe also in a bigger scope? It just doesn't need to be our room. Also, if you think about building spaces in cities, architecture, all these disciplines, what do you think could they learn from you, professional character design and film?
Well, I mean, I think one thing is for everyone the same. If we are, the opposite of us is pointy, is edgy, we are afraid, because it's a knife, or is it something? It's like, if as this opposite is soft and smooth and fluffy, it's absolutely, it's fine.
It's organic forms, how you would say.
You're feeling well. The same with sound. If we have in the sound, there are sounds that make us aggressive or feeling unwell, and we don't want to hear that. And there are other sounds we like, and so on. And the same with the smell, when we smell something we like, and we feel well, and we smell something we do not like, we react to it, because we know that if something smells, we know if we can eat it or not, if we get sick of it or not, and all those things, all those reactions are coming from something. So if we're creating something, and that smell is creating a scent that is like, like chocolate, I just say it, we would like to have it. We would like to be there, and fluffy and whatsoever. And if we want to have something that is pushing us away, then we have to do it the opposite, and it smells poison. It is pointy. It is edgy, and then we don't want to deal with it. And if we have an object that can change, that has something like a hand, and the hand can be fluffy and soft and fine, or all of a sudden like claws, coming out, and then it is getting aggressive. I think it's always the same. In movies, of course, we do not have smell thing, or we cannot touch it, and we do not feel it physically, what we watch. We only have images and sound, that's it. And so in the other world, we have maybe more or less or different things.
Mm-hmm. So what, if I understood correctly, what you would recommend is in the first place that we look for like basic requirements, like these more organic forms, so that there's a well-being atmosphere in some way. And then I remembered you said like you have a list of questions that we could answer for ourselves to learn more about the character we want to design. And maybe that would be actually an interesting task for our team, and then think about design elements that could support such a character. I mean, in a room, I could think of light visualizations, or also sound that you could use for showing reactions or something.
There's one thing also maybe interesting. If you enter the room, maybe there is a moment in the very beginning where the room first has to understand you and has to learn about you to react.
Mm-hmm.
You are a woman, so you come into this room and the room understands, there's a woman coming into the room. So I have to react, the room has to react to a woman, because then the room is reacting differently than if a man is entering the room. Also, the age, the room might react to a child differently than to an elder person. And so there is in the beginning kind of a scanning or whatsoever moment to understand who is entering the room, because I can kind of shocking or making something that this guest is feeling well, if that can be very different from from each person. So and also, I mean, if you want to go into this deep idea, but it's still there, someone from another culture, from another society, from another level of knowledge is reacting differently. And so the room is understanding, this person is coming from Berlin-Kreuzberg. I have to react in a different way than this person is coming from München-Schwabing, So,
that's a very interesting aspect, because we first talked about that too much adaptation is not believable. But of course, what you just mentioned, it's just like we also as humans would react if someone's entering the room. We would recognize who it is, and of course, behave in a different way to a child than to another person. Andreas, I don't know if you want to add something or also others.
I'm taking notes. I'm still lagging a little behind, and I'm still thinking about what you said about these characteristics, that these basic elements, like something being pointy or edgy, or something being more round and soft. Do you by any chance have any examples from film that you consider good solutions to that approach? Any abstract things that immediately appear that you would be comfortable with them, or that make you fear?
I mean, there's so many out there. It's like we all know, of course, HAL, the computer from Kubrick's movie,
Yes.
A Space Odyssey. That is now, how old? Like, wait a minute, 30, 40, it become 50. I think it's now 50 years. No, it was 1969. They shot the movie 1968 or 69. Amazing how old, how long ago. And you remember all the scene where HAL is just this red kind of eye.
Yeah, the light.
Voice. And when HAL got shut down, how HAL reacted to it. And we as audience, we almost didn't want that the astronauts are shutting HAL down. And it's just this, this light. And And we all love this computer, hell. And this just the voice and this red eye. It's amazing with how little things we immediately think about a character. Well, I mean, there are a lot of things out there. It's obvious always if you have a robot or something like that, that the audience think it's alive. But there are also I think in the genre of horror movies, most of the things are alive. All those in the genre, like where the haunted houses, where the house is haunted, and there are new tenants coming into a house. And then it's, the house becomes alive and is playing tricks to them, Monster House and whatsoever. So a long list of titles, because especially when you're young as a child, you are at a place you don't know. You expect always something, bad behind under the bed or whatever, or even the house is haunted. So that's there are a lot of movies with houses that are alive and reacting to their new inhabitants. Or cars again, like Herbie in a funny way, the Walt Disney movie with Herbie the buck, or Christine, another horror movie where a car is reacting on its own, and everyone think, oh, wait a minute, this car is doing something. Yeah.
Susanne?
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, just continue. And I think you were telling so many exciting stories on how to, as you said, making things alive and give them a personality. But if you look at your career, so where did you draw your inspiration from? So I don't know, can I think that you have been sitting in the park and observing people, how they are maybe excited or how they are bored, or watching real movies, how people are afraid or frightened and so on? Because it seems that you also have gathered a lot of experience on how to translate actually the question of, for example, mimicking a boyfriend by this character. Where do you draw your inspirations from? Is there anything we can learn from? Is this wonderful cookbook just hidden in your probably creative brain, or is there anything we can learn from, how to do that translation, which you obviously did for many movies?
Yeah, I think, of course, everyone is doing it differently. I love to draw. That's how I started as a child as well, already with drawing. And to understand my world and everything around, I have to draw it. I only can understand something deeply if I drew it. So I started drawing houses and architecture. I was afraid of drawing humans. Funny. I started drawing humans when I was 18, 19, 20. Before, I always drew dead objects like houses, something that is not alive. But then, of course, and I with movies, I said, wait a minute, characters. Movies are not about houses. Movies are about men, about humans, about beings. And so I have to find a way how to draw it. So I went to school and started a life drawing and how to draw an anatomy, things like that, and understand the human body. And then I got so much into characters. That's what I said in the beginning. I'm in my creative or my career, I'm character driven, I could say. And I'm taking the inspirations out of life, of real life. And of course, animation movies, I'm not watching that much animation movies, I have to say. I'm watching more live action. And I'm observing how characters react and also how real people react to what. And that is, of course, big fun to do so. But then I try to understand, why is this person reacting like that? And I find, if you watch carefully super talented actors, like I mentioned in our conversation earlier, this movie Finch is, for example, it's a new movie out on Apple, and Tom Hanks is it's a movie just with kind of one actor. That's it, Tom Hanks, and how he acts is unbelievable. And this is what I'm watching. I'm watching how, because Tom Hanks is sometimes not moving at all. It's just tiny, very subtle little things in his face are moving and is changing his emotions completely. And especially actors and actresses who can act with, not with, like acting like crazy, but with very subtle, very little things. That's what is what I've fascinating in, and that's why I showed you Iron Man on the sofa doing nothing, just with his fingers, like a little bit like this, and this character is immediately alive. And this you have to observe. You watch it, you see other people. Of course, in the park, I love to go in cafes. I mean, Corona is a little bit bad for that, but I love to go, and I always have my little sketchbooks with me, and I draw. And the thing is with drawing, I want to take the chance because I'm teaching drawing since a couple of years on 3 universities, and the young generation is less and less drawing. And the Chinese, I forgot the Chinese word for it, but the word in Chinese for writing is the same for drawing. They have the same word for drawing or writing. And the Chinese letters are already images. And because we do not write anymore with our hands, we type all the time, or even not typing, we are talking to our smartphones, and the smartphone is making the text. We lose handwriting, and we lose drawing. And that is, I think, something that is not good, because when we have to understand what we see, of course, we can try to memorize it, we can take a picture of it, and so on. But it is different if we have to draw it. Because if you draw it, you have to understand what you see. Otherwise, you can't draw it. And then when you later on look at your drawing again, everything comes back. Everything. All the problems you had drawing it comes back. And that is something for if you then have to create something new, what is not here yet, you have a big memory of all what you have drawn, and you can drag it out of it. That's what I also mentioned in another conversation. The thing is, if you want to show something that no one ever has seen before, you will fail completely, because everyone will look at it and doesn't understand it at all. We know about this in South America with the tribe there watching the Spanish Armada coming, and they didn't understand what that is, and they have never seen ships before in their life. And so the Spanish people could invade South America easily, because the people, they couldn't understand what is coming. And the same, I always, I'm a bicyclist, I'm a cyclist since my entire life. And I always say that's the same with the cyclist on the road for car drivers. Car drivers, they understand other cars and trucks and buses and whatsoever, but they do not understand bicycles, so they don't see it. They can't see bicycles because it's not what they understand, because they don't do it. Of course, nowadays in the more and more are cycling, and so also the car drivers understand bicycles. But it's what they do not. So if you want to create something new, you always have to create something that is well known, that is everyone knows, and you have to add something new to it to kind of sell it.
Mm.
And otherwise you fail. And so when you draw your world and understand your world, you repeat your world, and as a creator start to combine it in a different way, combine it the other way around. Take a can, of course, there's coffee in, but then create out of this can a tower or something else you can live in, make a different size of it, whatsoever. Then it is easier if you understand your world. And that's why I say it's so bad that the young generation is not drawing anymore.
Yeah, and of course it's an important emphasis on this, I don't know, balance you need between something that is already known and something you can hold on to, but also, of course, innovative elements. But Heiko, I think you have a question or comment, or maybe you also have.
Yeah, I was going back to the inspiration and how you said, when you're watching Tom Hanks and he's doing these very subtle things, and then you presented this this work you did with Robert Downey Jr. So how does this change your workflow when you working with an actor and you have to basically reenact him? You said, you wouldn't use motion capture, but you would use keyframe animation. And so how does this change your workflow? How does this change your freedom of creativity, basically?
Okay. Yes. So you mean that because the actor in this time, Robert Downey Jr. is acting, and then we take that acting. But Robert Downey Jr. wasn't.
And because he's giving you feedback, I guess. He's looking at it. He says, that's not me.
Well, in this production, it's more the director, not the actor.
Okay.
Take care of it. But Robert wasn't sitting on the sofa, and he wasn't walking through the living room. I mean, that is a crazy example anyways, because for that movie, that Robert Downey Jr. got $80 million to do this movie. That was the highest amount of payment ever in movie history that an actor got, 80 million for one movie. So you can imagine how expensive this actor is for just 1 hour. So that's different. Totally different from a movie like Huibu, what we did with Michael Bulli-Herbig, who absolutely responded to everything. I mean, if you know him, he is behind everything because he's also a director and a writer as well. And the thing is, I cannot answer this in general because it's so different from each project and production anyways, but also each role, each character is different. We are talking now about character animation, and character animators are actors and actresses, but they do not perform in real, in front of the camera. They perform behind the camera and not in real time because they have their time. And what they do is they have different sources for their animation. First of all, of course, the actor or actresses, if they have one. If they don't have, they have maybe the voice talents. So the animation follows the voice recording. So they have the talents doing the voices already. So they have that. Of course, this one is not saying anything on the sofa, so there is no voice. Then for this, for example, the animator is sitting himself, in this case, on a sofa in front of a video camera and thinking about how to act. What would you do if you are at home, relaxed, but you are waiting for your girlfriend coming home? While you are sitting, you're leaning back, you put one leg on the other, and you sit there comfortable and waiting, and then you're bored, and maybe you do this. You start, playing with your fingers, and you take a video, and then you watch, and then you see, how did I do this on this video, and that is an inspiration. And of course, you Google similar situations, and out of all of this, you start your animation. That's how you work. And then, of course, you present this to the director, or first to the animation director, and think if that person can read what you did, and if this follows all the rules or the character, the animation, the real character, then they say, yeah, go ahead. And yeah, the funny story behind that sequence is, anyways, because in that the entire sequence was at another company called Scanline, and they had to blow up the house. And at the end of the sequence, the house got shot and then blow up. So they're very good in all those effects with explosions and fire and destruction and all that. And my company, we were focused on characters. We are not focused on explosions and destructions and stuff like that. So Marvel gave that sequence to this other company. But in that sequence is this scene. And this other company couldn't do the animation. Even though they had highly paid and fantastic animators, they couldn't do it. So Marvel, they sent always their animation, and Marvel said, no, we do not believe it. We don't believe it. There's no Robert Downey Jr. in the suit. And then, because we were working with Marvel, we had other sequences. They said, we give it to Trickster, to the other company. And so Trickster got this scene with the character animation, and that is exactly we are trained in. We watched it. We looked at Tony. We watched all the movies of Robert Downey Jr., how he's moving and what he's doing. And then, there's this moment where he's with his hips doing, this little thing. That's him. That's absolutely him. And so we did that. And Marvel said, yeah, that's it. So can you imagine? I mean, I have this movie here as well, but the time is running out. You get from the client, you get, you have to bid on something, and you have to do a character design from the design to the very end, also the animation. And the briefing is as follows. This character will have 6 legs. You say, okay, 6 legs, no problem. We can see, we take a horse and put 2 extra legs to it or whatsoever. We can manage 6 legs, no problem. Well, this character has also 4 wings. So you think, okay, wait a minute, 4 wings. Well, a bird, a dragon has 2 wings. Well, we add another pair of wings to it. You get it, no problem. Well, but this character has no head, no head. So there's no face, no mouth, no eyes, nothing, no head. So the character has 6 legs, 4 wings, and no head. Yeah, wait a minute. How this character? This can't be. Yeah, do it, please. And this character has to be very nice, funny, like a little dog. Everyone wants it, of course, as a toy. And please create this character. And that is what we got for the last Marvel movie. This character is called Morris, if you want to watch it. It's in the latest Marvel called Shang-Chi. And it's a character coming from the Chinese mythology in real. You can Google it. And Morris is a character without a head. So, I mean, you can create a character that everyone wants to cuddle, wants to hug, wants to have as a puppy, but it has no head. No head at all. Nothing.
Susanne, you have your hand raised for a while.
Yeah, it's okay, but I didn't want to. But this is so exciting, Actually, I looked it up. Thanks. I'll see it. It's even available. Seems to be as a toy already in the markets. I was wondering. So you were sharing a lot of your inspirations for characters. So how do you recommend doing this for things? So if you have a box, for example, that is hiding maybe a secret, and the box is shy, or the box is not giving you access to it. So you have part of it human elements, but then if it's maybe too human, you walk into that uncanny valley aspect. So do you have the same approach for things, or do you actually take it from a different angle?
No, it is for things as well, because first of all, you already briefed a lot. You already said it's hiding something.
Yeah.
And so is it possible that this box is moving? Can it move? So of course it will immediately move away. When I go to this box, the box will start to move away. It's not coming towards me. It is moving away. It starts to hide. It tries to hide. It tries to hide. And then, of course, the surface maybe is not shiny light. It is more, matte, dark colors or something like that. Maybe the box is able, like a camouflage, to get the same color like the background or something like that. And the box might be very flat, and things like that. You have to close your eyes and have to get into the situation with this box and think of it. And how would this box react to me when I want to have it? Maybe the surface is like soap. You can't. If you want to touch it, it glitches away. It's and things like that. And then when you get really close to it, because it hides a secret, then it will puff some clouds, like some green steam out. So you immediately you are surprised about it, or make some weird sounds.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks. I think it would be. I think we could probably spend hours.
Yes,
listening to your creativity.
It is always depending on what are you able to do. Is it able to move? Is it able to make a sound? Is it able to, to release some steam or to whatsoever? Can it change the surface? Can it have arms and things like that? Then you say, no, it's just a box. If you reduce it very, very much, then you have to figure out how it works.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we are probably running out of time already. I don't know if there are any more questions or closing remarks from my side. I must really say I'm so happy that we found you, invited you, because this was really interesting to have another perspective and to figure out some parallels, I would say, especially for me and my team who are from psychology, because you also said we are always wondering about the motivation. Why is he or she doing this? And in another sense, that's also the questions we ask. But yeah, you really showed how these questions can then lead to good design decisions or character design. And thank you so much from my side.
If you see something, a character or an object or the box, and you can see a little bit of the history of that object, then it becomes alive. That's why, for example, I love antiques, old movie, old cars, old furniture, old houses, because you can see the history because of the Spuren, the scratches and everything. And maybe they already like I'm sitting here next to the University for Music, and it was built by Walter Speer. So it was built in the Nazi Reich, and it is still there. And it's so much history behind it. This building I'm sitting in here is 10 years old. It has no history whatsoever yet. So it's kind of boring and not interesting at all. And that is also something. If you create something, build something into it that is telling a story of where it comes from, or where it came from, or what was before there, or did this box, for example, was there someone already stealing some secrets out of the box, and so the box doesn't want to have this experience again, and things like that.
Wonderful. This is really great. So maybe Andreas, Sarah, you want to close this excellent session for today, and then we are just giving an outlook to next week.
Okay, Michael, thanks so much. I took notes. I learned a lot. I think I have even more questions than before, so we will definitely get back to you with more questions and invite you to our hopefully not so haunted room. That really inspired me. That we need to pay attention that we don't create a haunted environment. And yeah, thanks a lot for being with us. Thanks a lot for sharing your experience, your insights, your thoughts, and pointing us into interesting directions. We'll be in touch locally.